co-host Cash Money Morgan, and my brand new friend. Please give a warm welcome to the one, the only Casey.
Hi guys.
Casey, how are you feeling on this Sunday afternoon?
Pretty good. I got some training in. Get to do a podcast. Pretty exciting. Meet a new friend.
Yeah, we have to give Casey props right now because she literally, well, your training is in Springfield, right?
Yeah.
But still, this queen lives an hour and 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she is here on the pod. So a round of applause for her. Yes,
Thank
queen.
you. Thank you.
Yes. So a little bit about Casey. I actually slid in her DM in the sense of I saw glimpses of her story on a different podcast, and I was like, whoa. Inspirational story. Will you be on my pod? And I feel like it's always funny when someone random reaches out. Like one time I reached out to a different person and they were like, they Google searched me because they thought that I was, I don't know, like, they're like, what if she's a murderer or something? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, did you look at my Instagram? So like, what was your first, like, who is this person? What's going on? Like,
Genuinely had no clue who you were.
That's okay.
I had to do some research on you.
Refreshing.
No, it's kind of cool because it's like, that has been my goal for a little bit, is to get my story out there and share it. So it's awesome when I have people reach out. Somebody definitely just asked me if I had my location on, and somebody knew where I was going because I had never met her.
Well, there we go. I know, and it's always like, come to this location, I live here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I get it.
Come to downtown Springfield somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that, and also excited to kind of like pod from the loft because I've been doing a lot of like on-site places, so it's kind of nice to just chill on the couch and catch a vibe, cry a little.
Cozy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Casey, obviously I know parts of your story, and I'm excited to dig into it more today. But if you just want to give a little resume of yourself, who are you, where are you from, and what do you currently do for work? Maybe a fun fact about yourself too.
Okay. I am originally from the Joplin area. I moved around a lot as a kid, like multiple schools. Finally ended up in Carthage for high school and went to high school there, and moved to Springfield in 2015 for college. Went to Missouri State for an exercise and movement science degree. So I love exercise. I love staying fit and just active. I think it's great for your brain. So I'm all about that. Few things happened. Life happens as we know it happens. I got sick with, unfortunately, Hodgkin's lymphoma, in 2019, and it kind of spread into the next few years. So during COVID season, while everybody was already lonely and isolated, things like that, that's when my symptoms started ramping up. So I thought it was just due to all of that, but got through a cancer diagnosis. I am cancer free, so very excited about that.
Yes.
I do jujitsu. That's really kind of my life goal right now. I work from home for Mercy. I do a credentialing specialist job, so I'm the annoying person in people's emails when I'm like, hey, I need your license, I need your insurance.
Yeah.
Very, very easy job, but that's okay because I put my body through it at Fight Club. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dang. So it's high-level, Casey, and we're going to dive into it 100%. What's a little fun? We said fun fact is the jiu-jitsu. I'm going
to say the fun fact is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Do you have any other like weird fun fact?
I do. I am an undefeated pie eating champion.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking a one-off, like here and there. Okay? And if you look at me, you're not going to be like, wow, she can put away some pie,
We don't
right?
judge a book by its cover, right?
Exactly. Right? I'm a huge reader, so I agree with that.
There you go.
Even though we definitely judge them by their covers. 100%.
I know.
But pie eating.
What's the pie of choice?
The first one was a single pie, or a single piece of pumpkin pie.
Okay.
And so I was...
That's the gateway pie.
I was 13. Okay. And I was at a back to school church event, and they had us all up on stage, all the kids going back to school, and they said, you get to pick a piece of pie, whichever one out of these four, whoever eats it the fastest gets a little gift certificate to a Bible store. So I was like, that is mine.
Yes.
I smashed that pumpkin pie so quick that they thought I cheated.
Wow.
I love pie.
Pumpkin pie is a great pie too.
Yeah.
A great choice.
And it was so easy. Some people picked pecan, and I'm like, how are you going to eat that fast?
Yeah.
You gotta be smart
Thinking about it. So now is it like, do you seek out pie competitions yearly and just to stay,
It was a one-off for about 10 years. And then, I had this craving one day. I was working for BioLife at the Republic Firework event, and somebody from Village Inn came up to our booth. And they were like, hey, we're throwing this pie eating contest later. Do you have anybody that would want to join it? Because nobody wants to sign up. I looked my boss.
She's like, your past really does follow you.
Yeah, it really, this is my moment to shine, okay? This is my moment to make a name for myself. So I looked my boss in the eyes, and I'm like, can I get paid to eat pie today? He's like, only if you win. Okay.
The pressure.
So I don't eat anything at this event. I go into this pie eating event with a trash bag on me,
Oh my gosh.
hands behind my back, and there's just a line of middle-aged men doing the same thing.
What a representation of women, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did that. I'm always like,
yeah,
for us.
for the women. So they put a cherry pie in front of all of us, and they said, eat as much of it as you can, as fast as you can, and we'll clock you at 3 minutes.
A whole pie.
Whole pie, no hands. I won.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is on Facebook somewhere, but please don't look that up, because I had pie up my nose for weeks. It was horrendous. I didn't want pie the rest of the year.
Can you, like, you're probably not going to share your strategy or anything. I mean, a good magician never tells his tricks, right?
You're right, but you know that one guy did, the hot dog eater did, he said if you move around a lot. I didn't try that.
Okay.
I just went for the cherries and not the crust.
Interesting.
So I left more of the crust than everybody else did, but I ate all the filling.
Wow. This is great stuff, you guys.
My dad and I used to just eat cans of cherry pie filling, so like it was just, I was made for this job. I was made for that pie eating contest.
I was born for this.
So I got paid to eat pie.
That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We are filled with weird fun fact jokes. The listeners know I've been to circus camp when I was younger. I have a fear of eyeballs. We welcome odd here.
Love that. Eyeballs, huh?
Oh yeah, terrifying. So we're not gonna get into that later.
So if I can, my other fun fact was that I'm legally blind in my left eye before the pie eating, but I can make it move. I'm not going to, because I don't want that on.
Don't do that
everywhere.
You're off the pot.
But I love freaking people out with it. So.
Oh my gosh, do not do that. I will throw up right on site. Like, that is how my body reacts.
Oh, no.
So we're not going to do that. Okay, so this was very fun and lighthearted. We're done, you guys. Bye. I'm just kidding. No, now it's time to get into meat and potatoes. So in your little bio, you've mentioned so many things.
So many.
So you mentioned that during COVID, all of a sudden you started having cancer symptoms. Can you walk us through what was that like? How did you know, what were some of the symptoms? Like, how did you even know that something's off? Because COVID, 1, was already mentally crazy, as you mentioned.
It was.
2, we're all scared, like, when you get COVID, like, am I gonna die right now? You know what I'm saying? I used to call Walmart, like, the local watering hole, because that was, like, the only thing people could go to. We just buy stuff just for fun, because we're bored.
Midnight trips to Hy-Vee, because they were open all night long, 100%. What did cancer feel like? How did I know? I didn't. For a really long time. I was working at Best Buy at the time. I was working a part-time job right before COVID started, and I started having full body hives. I'm an anxious person, so I was like, maybe it's just anxiety.
Girl, be so for real. If I get like a little rash from a plant, I'm like, Dad, to like Google it. I mean, I'm hypochondriac.
I tried like switching laundry soaps and detergents and bedding. I have a dog. I have 2 dogs now, but at the time I had a dog, so I tried avoiding him as much as possible, which is like the hardest thing in the world for me to do if you know me at all. I tried all of these things because these hives were like stressing me out, and they were coming back multiple times over the weeks. Kind of started going away, and I never really got results from them. Went to dermatologist 4 or 5 times, and they just kept telling me to change the soaps and the things like that, change my daily activities. Never got any results, never got any answers. Shaved my legs with a thing called an epilator one time. And it's like multiple tweezers all at once, just up your leg. So it's like waxing, but a machine.
Okay.
And then I got like really bad irritation from that. And I was like, wow, I'm never doing that again, right? But then it spread all the way up my legs, and I realized that, okay, maybe it wasn't the machine I used, but my legs look really bad. It's like I had chicken pox 24/7.
Interesting.
Started really bad
also,
on my
pause. Guys, you know we're back in the downtown land, so you're just going to suck it up. I mean, it's motorcycle city out here.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Keep it. Shout out to cider days. Keep it going.
So I had these honestly, I had really ugly legs and really irritated legs for a really long time after the hives, and I was like, well, surely those aren't connected. Like I also freak out about everything, so I was really trying not to because I couldn't get any answers. Dermatologists weren't helping me. So then I started attributing it to, I'm just really stressed all the time. Because I was stressed all the time.
I mean, honestly, though, it's like good, you know, that's what happens. Like, hair falls out, gray hair, like, your body
systems,
reacts.
our thyroids, when they go into overdrive, it is insane what can happen to our bodies.
100%,
Like, there are a million and one reasons why these things could be happening, and I'm trying to narrow them down all by myself for the most part, because doctors and dermatologists haven't been helping. So I went through all of these symptoms. The irritation started going all the way up my legs. At this point, I was dating a guy. Shout out, his name is Colin. These cancer symptoms were coming up my legs and starting to spread up my whole body, and I really could not figure out what was going on. It was getting hard to breathe, but I had had COVID, and everybody was reassuring me that these symptoms were from isolation. My new doctor, or my primary care doctor, was saying, oh, maybe you should try therapy because people have been isolated for a really long time with COVID. So now I'm going to therapy multiple times a week. Nothing's working. They're giving me this diagnosis of OCD excoriation disorder, which is like incessant scratching.
Interesting.
It was 24/7. I couldn't stop. It was working its way up my whole body. I couldn't sleep. I was starting to lose a lot of weight. It was inhuman, is what it was. I literally was a shell of a being for almost 2 years because doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And then they sent me to therapy for it. And then they said it was all in my head.
Oh my gosh.
So then I called them and I said, I need to schedule an x-ray or something because I can't breathe when I lay down now. And they're like, what do you mean you can't breathe? I'm like, there's something in my chest and I can't breathe.
It's trauma.
And they're like, why didn't you come in person if you can't breathe? And I said, COVID guidelines. If you have a cough or anything, you can't come in person. They want to do a virtual visit. So they're like, nah, come in tomorrow. So this is late June of 2022. So these symptoms have been going on for 2.5 years almost.
So 2.5 years, like the chicken pox stuff on the legs, like
all the way up between the start of the hives and now 2.5 years. So I go in for an x-ray the very next day. I see the x-ray before they send it to me. And I took some medical classes in college. I know that wasn't supposed to be there. Whatever I saw on that x-ray was not supposed to be there. It looked like my heart was about 3 times the size.
Oh no.
So I'm panicking. Nobody's giving me answers yet because they haven't reviewed the results. I go home. I get a call. Hey, you have a critical mass in your chest. We need you to come in ASAP for a CT. So I go in for the CT. I have a softball-sized tumor wrapping around my lungs and around my heart, preventing it from fully expanding. So that's why I can't breathe, because my lungs physically cannot move. 2.5 years of somebody telling me it was in my head. It was stress. It was your environment. It was your laundry detergent. And turns out there was a softball-sized mass growing that whole time.
Wow.
So it was, how do you not know that's there? Like, how would I not know that that's there? I knew something was wrong. You'd think that I would feel that, right?
I mean,
it's crazy.
I wouldn't put any blame on you. I mean,
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
She's like, girl, be so for real.
It's not in my head. I am not crazy.
Yeah.
So.
No. And especially, you ask the question too sometimes where it's like, would things have been different if it wasn't in 2020? You know what I'm saying? Like, would that have made a difference?
Had they not excused the cough as a COVID cough for 6 months?
Yeah, even post 2020. I mean, I had nothing like that. There was one summer I had a double ear infection and sinus infection, but immediately it's like, it's COVID. I'm like, no, Becky, it's not COVID. Like,
it's not everything.
I've had COVID and this is not COVID.
Honestly, I blame COVID for so much of it because it covered up. Yeah. It really did cover up a lot of the isolation and things like that.
Yeah.
So I blame COVID.
So from that moment, like, oh my gosh, just what was that first gut reaction of like seeing that, seeing that x-ray or like knowing, oh my gosh, like this is a tumor?
I had my very first ever panic attack sitting on the couch after that phone call. Sorry, before that phone call, because I knew that it was wrong. Uh-huh. Once I got the phone call, I was like, okay, now we need to do something. Now I have to act because that's the only thing I can do. I can't just sit and wait anymore. Like, I'm panicking. Somebody's telling me what I need to do. I'm going to follow the direction.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely terrifying and it was life-changing.
So that phone call then was that, hey, this is cancer.
That phone call was, it's critical. If you don't come in now, you might not ever be able to.
Wow.
So I didn't actually find out that it was cancer until almost a week later in the hospital because I got admitted. That was on a Wednesday for the virtual appointment. CT was Thursday, or X-ray and CT were Thursday. And I was admitted on Friday.
Wow.
I got my diagnosis the following Wednesday. So a week from my appointment, I got my diagnosis.
Oh my gosh. What was going through your mind?
What the heck am I doing? How do I survive this? Like, I was 24 at the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. And I know certain forms of cancer it just comes out of thin air. There's no leading causes, right?
I have no idea where it came from. It could have been genetic. I could have been born with a mutation. It could have been something in the environment. I will never know where that came from.
And my cousin had struggled with bone cancer in her leg and had to get it amputated. And that's something that it's like, we've never had that in our family. one-off.
Yep.
And
It's crazy.
crazy. So walk us through your journey then. You come to this, what did life look like after that diagnosis?
Oh, that is a loaded question without even really knowing the full scope of the story. It's a loaded question. But,
which I feel we probably have to let the listeners know now. Yeah. You had mentioned...
I tried to keep it to one track or like one chaotic moment at a time, but
yes,
this does deserve recognition because he is the biggest part of my story and the reason I am alive.
And I do want to tell listeners too, Casey has a hard story, and we're sharing it because this is someone who is an overcomer. You're a fighter in so many ways.
So many. And,
obviously for me, I am a Christian, and I just see that regardless of whatever you believe in, whatever you do, God is using you. And you're changing lives by just pushing hope in a place of pain.
It's my one goal in life now. So yeah.
So I don't want listeners to be like, Morgan, this is a sad story, but
it gets sad. It gets somewhat, but it can't get all the way better, but it does get better. So
yes, and we wanted to get to know her heart and what was going on in her life. And I think episodes like the Amanda Pod and different ones, there's ones that are hard to listen to, but it's like this is real, and this is also what you're doing in result of it. And so. Yeah. So also we want to thank you so much for your vulnerability on the podcast, because it's not easy breaking down our hardest moments in life. So
if I make you tear up, I'm so sorry, but that's okay. I'll probably tear up too. So
we'll get after it.
So to jump right in, I have been dating. So this was June 2022. I had been dating this wonderful man, Colin Loderhose. We had been dating for about a year and a half at the time, lived together for a little bit of that. Had previously dated one other time. Life went different directions. We came back together. He always said, "You found me when I needed you the most," which was like the cutest thing in the world. But he didn't know how real that was for me, because the first time I met him, I was this happy-go-lucky adventure seeker. I was going out to bars with my friends, and I was hanging out in downtown Springfield, and I would go mudding with him on a whim. It was so fun. It was so it was a meet cute story. He was a drummer at a bar. It was just very
Hallmark movie-esque.
It was the summer romance, the summer love, And it kind of went into winter, and then our life went separate ways, and we decided that was for the best for now. But we came back together about a year later at the peak of my symptoms, and I didn't know that, I guess not at the peak, it was at the very beginning. He saw the peak of my symptoms, but we started dating around the time things started getting rough for me, and he witnessed every single day. He saw the moments where I didn't want to look in the mirror. He saw the moments where I got the phone call. He walked in the door on his lunch break 2 minutes before I got my phone call that I had a mass in my chest. So when he says I walked into his life when he needed me the most, he walked into mine and saved it, because he was the one that pushed me to go to the doctor one last time. So I had this fairy tale love story of this guy who walks in, rides in on a white horse, saves my life. Sweetest man, does jujitsu, things like that. A week from my diagnosis and 3 days after I got out of the hospital, he was working at Anchor Tactical in Springfield, and a man came in and robbed the store, or tried to rob the store, and Colin prevented it. But in that, he did lose his life. So at this moment, I am in bed a week after my diagnosis, less than a week after my first chemo treatment. I just had my check-in appointment with my doctor. I text him, I say, "Hey, not really feeling great." Chemo was supposed to hit me the next day. Mm-hmm. It takes about a week, so I was mentally trying to psych myself up for that and go through the worst time of my life, right?
Yeah.
Well, the worst time of my life was realizing that now I have to fight cancer after losing my boyfriend to a murder. That cancer was a cakewalk. Oh my goodness, everything I'd been through with cancer, piece of cake. It was losing Colin that was absolutely crushing in that moment. But knowing who he was and how mad he would have been at me if I gave up, I knew I had to fight, had to push through. His dad had passed away of cancer a few years prior to that. So I knew that it wasn't fair to him to have a girlfriend who had cancer. We knew that. It wasn't fair. We were both mad at it. But I wasn't going to let that take me away when he knew what I could be after.
Yeah.
He knew who I was healthy. He knew that, happy, adventurous girls. He was like, "I just can't wait to see her again." Wow. So I had the goal to become that girl again in memory of him, in honor of him. So
Wow.
I do jujitsu in honor of him.
One thing about me is that I don't play games unless it's ping pong at Classics Yard. Classics Yard is Springfield's #1 social sport and game center. It is located in the back of Classic Rock Coffee Company headquarters and next door to the Riff. Coffee, sports, music, what more could you want? Located at 1900 West Sunset Street in Springfield, Missouri. Be sure to check them out, play some games, and reserve your event today. Visit www.classicsyard.com.
In memory of him, because my cancer ribbon was purple for Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was doing jiu-jitsu as a blue belt at the time and said, I'm going to fight for my purple belt in jiu-jitsu at the same time that you're fighting through chemo and getting your purple ribbon. So we were going to earn our purple belts in the same time frame. And the boy never made a promise he couldn't keep. So when he passed away, I texted his coach and I said, hey, he was going to go for his purple belt. And he goes, no, he would have had it within 6 months, which would have been the time frame that he wanted. So they gave him an honorary black belt at his funeral.
Wow.
But he never got that purple belt. So now I'm going for the purple belt.
Yeah.
So I joined jiu-jitsu in memory of him to get that purple belt one day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing all that because that is heavy stuff. And
It's very heavy.
life is so weird in the sense where there's so much like intentional plan, but also just we live in a fallen world where such bad things happen and there's really no explanation. It's just what do you do with the explosion after?
It's how you handle it. It's 100% how do you get through that day. And if you're not thinking, well, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be, you don't have to think in 5 years' time after something like that. It's, okay, I'm going to get through today.
Yeah.
And if it's not today, it's, I'm going to get through the next hour. And that's how it was for a few days.
Yeah.
And then it was, okay, I made it through the day. I've got the next one. So
Yeah. Wow. And that's just, I didn't even know some of the details of that story of, there was cancer in his family and all of that. And then you fighting so hard and the cancer being a cakewalk. It's such an interesting perspective on, and I'm obviously as a podcast host, I probably ask like the most out of pocket questions, but I'm just,
totally fine.
It's just wild that like that was also a motivating factor to fight so much. And I just asking the backwards questions of like, what would have the recovery been like if he was still alive,
I think about that more often than I probably should because it's a what if. It 100% is a what if, and we're not supposed to dwell on those. But
no, we're not.
You can't tell your brain to stop saying, "Hey, what if this bad thing hadn't happened? What if this tragedy hadn't occurred? Where would my life be at?" Because you do kind of dream about those. I dream about those things still, but I think that my life would have looked similar in a way.
Yeah. You probably still would have been telling your story, and
he was a very positive person. He was very loving. He was a man of faith. So had all of these great qualities. Literally ideal husband material. The night before he passed away, we got in a little bit of an argument about just how I was handling everything, and I needed to open up with him. Completely get it. He had gotten me through this exhausting year and a half of being sick while we dated. And I wasn't allowing him to help me adjust to the news as much as I probably should have because he was there the whole way.
Right.
So he went to jiu-jitsu. He came back. We talked. We had a great conversation about our life and about what we wanted it to look like and what we were going to do from here on out. So my life, we would have probably gotten engaged after chemo ended because we had been struggling. The main thing with our relationship we had struggled with was me being sick. With that out of the way, we knew that we wanted to be with each other. We just couldn't get over what was wrong.
Right.
So he talked about proposing after chemo and things like that. And he wanted minimum 4 kids. So I always wanted to write a book, and I wanted to write a book about my story. But now it's even more powerful.
Yeah. And your story, it's a heavy one. It's obviously you've gone through so many hard things, and I can't imagine. I have a lot of friends right now in life that are in their own waiting seasons for whatever challenges they're facing. And there's just a lot of things of like, well, why isn't this happening now for me? Or why could this happen? Why? And it's like, we do live in a fallen world. But one thing big that's been big in my life and like trying to encourage others is like changing the perspective, and as much as hard as like, how could this happen? Where like, how is he gone? Like, is it a raw feeling and you're allowed to feel it and all these things, but flipping it too and being like, I'm so glad I was able to get to know him. And especially on that
absolutely
deep level that you got to have, like experience love and all these things. And, now who knows what your future has to hold, but being able to have a relationship with someone that was such an impact like that in your life and helped you get through that is amazing.
Oh, I say it's the funniest thing. I started saying this after everything. Cancer and murder, like, you don't typically say you're blessed.
It's a weird combo.
Blessed after those things, but that's 100% what I was saying, because
Wow.
I'm blessed because he saved me right before he left the world. Like, he saved my life. He gave me a purpose. He gave me a gym community and a family without realizing it, and he always promised me a big family. So he followed through on his promises. I am so blessed to have had the community from him to help me get through all of the things, because I had my own community.
Yeah.
And now I had his.
Yeah.
And it takes a freaking world to get through what I went through. And I had it. I had everybody that I needed to get through. His grandmother, his family, his gym, my family. My mother was there with me through every chemo. So I really am blessed by the situation, because it showed me what I have to be grateful for.
Wow. And you said he was a man of faith, and I don't know a lot of the past on that stuff, but it's just, there's things of that where it's like you're covered, and I think the world or outside perspective could be like, man, but like, look at these cards you were dealt, and like, look at this. And it's especially the enemy trying to like lie it in the ear. But like, for you to say that you survived cancer, the love of your life being murdered, and you're grateful, is something that is the most glorifying to God thing that you could probably say, because your season doesn't define you. You made it out, and now it's so exciting to see you speak about this, because your testimony is wild. And it's amazing, because people when they see that, they're like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And you're like, this is my story.
It doesn't have to make sense, but it's what happened.
Yeah.
So most of it still doesn't make sense to me. I genuinely, when I look back at the last little bit over 2 years since he's been gone, and I've been dealing with the after effects of that diagnosis. So I did 6 months of chemo, and then finished in December 2022 and was cleared after that. But I'm on a 5-year cancer watch.
Yeah.
Because it's 50-50 on if it'll come back. So the last 2.5 years, I'm done with cancer. Will it come back?
Right.
How would I handle that? But I look back and I'm like, I made it.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Right.
I'm literally still fighting. I'm not
like,
going to stop.
We'll fight again if needed. Like
100%. And now I'm even better at fighting it, because I'm active. I have a community of people that if they notice something, I'm not isolated with COVID anymore.
Yeah.
Doctors now know, like, hey, 24-year-olds can have cancer. It's
and
not in
like,
their head.
Excuse me, sir. Show me the freaking x-ray.
The next time a man tells me something's in my head, it is going to be a nightmare for him. Nobody's said it to me since, but it would be a nightmare.
We are turning that into a reel. Not as
Please
good
do.
shirt. That is wild. But we are going to keep going into the deep stuff, because I have some more deeper questions, but I want to split it up a little bit and just go ahead and do some fun girly pop.
Absolutely.
Just kind of like
lighten it a little bit.
the load a little bit, because that was heavy stuff. But
Heavy.
It was powerful for sure.
Thank you.
So now, like, what's your favorite food?
It's actually not pie.
Okay.
It's mac and cheese.
Wow. All right.
I love
but it's
me
like
mac and
the
cheese.
southern. Let me see that. Like the pie. Like chicken over beef, or like what's?
I just love food in general,
Okay.
but like I like savory. I like sweet foods. I like everything really.
Okay.
But I'm
Okay.
just a mac and cheese from
Mac and
childhood.
cheese.
I just love it.
Okay. Love to hear that. What did I also have here? Favorite hobby besides fighting? Because I don't know if it's my favorite hobby. I mean, obviously that's what you're doing right now. But
It is a hobby, but also a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I have to throw that one in, because that's a huge
Period.
MMA thing. It's a lifestyle, guys.
Yeah.
I am a hardcore book nerd.
Okay.
I love like fantasy and fiction and sci-fi.
Oh my
and
gosh,
everything.
you would love all my girlfriends.
I love a good book.
What's the book that you're reading right now?
Fractal Noise by Christopher Poloni. It's
Okay.
an audiobook. I'm actually in the
Okay.
middle of like 4 or 5, but that's the one I listen to most recently.
Yeah.
I do audiobooks and physical, so.
Okay. I'm reading Matthew McConaughey's audiobook, Green
Okay.
Lights.
Yeah.
So
I love a good nonfiction book every now and then to
there you go.
toss things up.
Yeah, I haven't read it in a while, but maybe I'll okay. Dream vacation.
Ooh. Europe.
Okay, anywhere specifically in Europe.
The carbs. I just want the carbs.
Italy?
And the people and the scenery, but the carbs.
Yeah.
I've heard good
Interesting.
things about the European carbs.
Well, I just had the Mexico carbs, and amazing. I felt like I ate so much food, never bloated, like literally barely needed caffeine. Just amazing.
I haven't gone out of the country. I've only
Okay.
gone probably 10, 12 states. So
Okay.
generally anywhere out of the country, but I've just heard really good things about
Yeah.
like Paris and Europe.
Save
and French
because
and
you
Italy.
going out of the country changes your world. Because you were like, oh my gosh.
It is a bucket list item, so it will
Yes.
happen soon.
Yes, I believe in you. If you ever need a travel buddy, let me know.
Perfect.
The travel credit card, shout out to Capital One, Venture X. Everyone needs to get it. I'm such a stan for the travel credit card.
She gets a referral bonus for saying that.
Please let me have one. please. I actually do. I'm thinking about it. Sorry, guys. This is so crazy. What's the biggest ick for a guy? And if you need help and reference, I can definitely add one as well.
Communication, horrendous. If
Okay.
it's horrendous,
We need like more specific. So, I mean, just for an example, I'm 25. And if I was to meet a guy that was also 25 and he's like, can I get your snap? You're done. You're done.
I'm the one that asked for Snap for my friends, not for guys.
Okay, because
for my friends, because I'm like,
some girls are like, I don't want to give my phone number out, but I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I don't know. Phone number for me is less a big of a deal. I don't know. Usually it's like surface level. Here's my Instagram, but I'd much rather give a guy my phone number than Snapchat because I don't.
see, they can get more information from you from your phone number though. That way, I can just block them immediately on Snap, and all they had was a username.
If I get a selfie that just says it's just a selfie and that's supposed to be a form of communication, I can't. I don't even use Snapchat anymore, so it's just like from my memories. But I could be biased, but that's just me.
Okay, biggest dick now would probably be somebody who didn't know how to defend themselves, because I'm like
Emotionally or physically?
physically. Because that's like a big thing for me now. Like
Yeah.
if you, and it doesn't have to be like serious training, but like
Yeah.
general awareness of the situation. I don't want to feel like I'm not safe with you. So
no, that's good.
That's like a weird one for me now.
No, I will say too, like the more that I get entrepreneurial, I mean, one, I'm attracted to a guy that has ambition. So hopefully, I mean, I feel like I want to
That's a must for you.
I want to say a lot of guys have ambition, but I don't know. There are a good percent that do, but I don't need someone that's crazy entrepreneur, but I like someone that kind of a little bit has a little bit of that same vibe, you know?
You have to have a like-minded person. You don't have to be the exact same.
Yeah.
Opposites do attract, but you do have to have some of the same qualities, because
Passionate
if you're
about
constantly
something.
if you're constantly growing and somebody else isn't, you don't want to be around that. So if you're
Right.
constantly reaching for something and thriving,
Yeah.
they're just sitting back on the couch 24/7 playing video games and not making something
Right.
of themselves.
I mean, if you're making money from video games, okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If you have a
To
Twitch
each their
channel. I'm so bad. Occasionally I do watch my celebrity crushes Twitch channels.
That's okay.
I don't care, whatever. Okay, so not to be deep, but obviously that's a tough story. I want to ask like your relationship status. Like, you know, if someone's watching this and they're like, dang, that girl is so cool, I'd love to take her to dinner, but I don't even know if she'd want that. Like, what would you tell the masses?
Not open to dating.
Not open to dating.
And it's
Okay.
not forever.
Not
I'm
forever.
just not in a situation right now where I feel comfortable opening up for that.
Yeah, and that's okay. If you are down the line, what is your type? Or what, like
Oh, that's a tricky question, because I have an ideal man,
right.
but I would prefer him to be into fitness, taller than me, laugh, like he likes to joke and
Yeah.
but not like the stupid,
Yeah, don't like giggle.
not like the class clown 24/7 going,
Right.
but like just a funny and general guy. I don't know, just
I get that. I would say like the same
he
exact
also
thing.
has to be very like accepting, because I do train jujitsu in honor of my dead boyfriend,
Yeah.
and he has to understand that like I come with a lot, but I also come with a lot of good things.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of balance there.
The right person, at least this is what I keep telling myself. I'm like, the right person, if they're really about you, you know what I'm saying, and they have the right intentions, they accept all of that. I mean, I feel like I have the craziest personality of like, oh my gosh, I don't know. My whole life I was told like, you're very intimidating, this and this. But I'm like, for the right person who's confident, this probably wouldn't be a big deal.
You're never too much for the right person.
But
ever.
period. Slay. Okay. Do you have a favorite football team? Around here, we are Bengals and Packers
So
fans.
what's so funny, I do not do sports, but the
Okay.
one team I would pick was the Green Bay Packers when I was
This
little,
is-
just to like play games and stuff with my brothers. So when she told me she was a Green Bay Packers fan, I was like, is this fate? Like, were we just like meant to get to
best
know?
friends?
Yeah.
Period.
She slid up in my DMs and I realized she was a Packers fan, okay? It
She
was
was
cool.
like, I gotta get on this podcast.
I don't think I've ever watched a single game of the Packers, though.
Oh, really?
I just played them in the football game,
I
like
have
in
like
the little...
crushes on like 7 of them. And Joe Burrow. So, I mean, whatever. But I'll see your boys on Thanksgiving Day, baby. You're trying to go to that game.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. Not to get back into the deep stuff.
But we're just gonna,
yeah. Okay. So we're just gonna talk about it again. So when you were in the middle of chemo,
okay.
how did you deal with those hard days? Because you had said that you got the bad news about your man's like right after the diagnosis, correct?
Yeah, it was a week to the day of the diagnosis. So pretty much my only thought was, I have to survive. I have to live. And that came with going to my next, I'm going to be in the hospital when I figured out that, so I showed up to the hospital. They told me that he did not make it through surgery. That moment I was like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
This sucks. I don't want to fight. I genuinely don't, because he was the only reason I was here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, crap, I have a dog at home. And I mean that in the best way possible, because that dog was also part of the reason why I'm here. I'm like, I got to survive for this dog, because I can't just abandon him like his dad just did. He doesn't realize that's not what he did, but he's not going to realize why dad isn't coming home. So I was like, well, I have a dog to live for. Okay. So I make it through that day. And then it was the promise of, well, when I get done with chemo, I'm going to go to Fight Club. And I'm probably going to hate jujitsu. It's probably going to be the worst thing I do besides cancer and treatment.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be miserable for 8 years. But I had this in my mind for months. I just got to make it to Fight Club. I just got to show up. If I just show up for myself and show up for the people that I've been telling I'm going to do this, that's at least a goal. Because I had no goals. When you get that diagnosis, your life flips. And then my life did an even bigger flip a week later. I had nothing. I had to move back so I lived in Springfield with Colin at the time. Had to move back into Joplin with my mother a month after chemo started. So now my goals are find a place to live at some point after chemo. I still had a work from home job, so that was a huge blessing during all of that, because I was able to take time off as needed. I also work for a hospital, so the insurance for that was exactly what I needed at the time. It was blessings in disguise. Things I didn't know that I needed until I was already there.
Yeah.
So it was just getting through one day, and then it was, okay, well, I have a chemo appointment in 2 weeks. And then before I had to move back to Joplin, I hung out with a friend that I hadn't seen in a few years, and he introduced me to this friend named Sydney that I used to work with, and we weren't really friends at the time. So this was Jonathan and Sydney. And after all of that isolation for the last 2.5 years, I was like, I just need to get out. I need to connect with people, because I miss laughing.
Yeah.
I miss having a good time, and I just laughter.
She's like, I miss playing ping pong, man.
Literally the best medicine. Pool and ping pong. Oh, I love those games.
We need to play.
Ooh.
Classics Yard. We need to play some ping pong.
I actually have 2 tickets to Classic Yard.
There you go.
For free entry.
I was going to say, I can
at
just
some
get
point.
us in, but
So,
period. There we go.
Either way, it's free.
There we go.
I was like, I'll never go to Classic Yard. But now I need... there's a reason I got those tickets.
We ride Classics Yard till dawn.
So it was... I was going out with some friends. We went bowling. And I was like, man, I kind of really like this. And my doctors were like, we understand your situation you're in. You obviously are a chemo patient and your immune system is crap. But you are going through one of the worst things imaginable on top of chemo.
Yeah.
So just be safe and be smart and don't do anything that we're recommending against. So I was like, okay. And I followed doctor's orders, things like that. We went out bowling, probably not the most sanitary thing to do. But once I got chemo, all my symptoms went away. I started gaining weight back. I could breathe. I felt alive again. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow. I'm a person again.
Yeah.
So I hung out with my friends, and then that wasn't doing it. It wasn't helping me mentally. It was helping me physically, to go out and do things.
Yeah.
But I was still thinking about Colin and things like that. So,
which normal,
obviously, and it was constant. So I was like, I didn't have the healthiest coping mechanisms. I'm still surprised that I made it through the way that I did, but I made it through. When I went out with Jonathan and Sydney, I love them to death. They are still some of my best friends. We would go out drinking. And at first it was, well, I can't drink right now because I'm on chemo. And that was safe. But then I went to my friend's bachelorette party in Nashville right after chemo one day, and I babysat all of them as the group mom. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you can have one drink since you're on the bachelorette party. So I was like, okay. So I had one drink, and then the weekend I came back, I went out with Jonathan and Sydney, and I had a few more. I was like, well, I feel healthier now. It's okay. I'm monitoring my liver and kidneys and stuff like that. So I wasn't being like the smartest.
Yeah.
So I was going out drinking with them on the weekends. We'd go play like bowling or pool, things like that. And I was going out with my friends, doing a lot of like probably not smart things, but having a really good time with people that I'd missed for a really long time. I missed the human connection. And when your best friend, your partner, the love of your life tragically dies, you lose that connection. So
Yeah.
I was searching for that in my friends and going out to bars. And then it just started getting really stressful. And
Yeah.
I started getting anxiety. Like, what if somebody pulls a gun? What if something happens? What if I get sick? What if things like that? But I was monitoring my levels every 2 weeks with chemo. So I knew that my body was functioning just fine. But I knew that I wasn't making the smartest choices and I wanted to do better than that. And I knew that I was going to start Fight Club in a few months. So I was like, I've really got to like kind of get my crap together. Because I'm handling this in a way. It's not the smartest way, but I'm handling it. So I got through the bad ways of coping and started looking at changing my mindset, changing my diet, adding more water instead of alcohol.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like binge drinking. I had like 4 or 5 pickle juice shots, but for somebody who was sick for a really long time, I was like, I was struggling.
It'd be affecting.
It was rough. And I don't drink anymore, but like I was drinking too much on chemo, which is you shouldn't be at all for the most part. 1 or 2 would be like.
And I feel like it can be a dangerous thing of like drinking while dealing with 2 such big things. Like, and people can use that as coping, but it becomes so dangerous when it's like that crutch, you know?
And it was an every other weekend thing. I would literally come into town, stay the night, get really drunk with my friends, stay the night with them, and then go home the next day, have a rough like week where I worked from home and didn't see anybody, and then I'd go to chemo that week. I'd take a weekend off, and then I'd go out the next weekend. It was a chemo or it was a partying. So I was either.
That is tough, man. That's
okay.
That's
isn't
tough.
That? So I actually have chaos tattooed on my arm because my life is chaos. It always has been. I've not made the best choices coping through, but I'm also still here, and I've changed the way that I've been coping. So it's
yeah. To being like mid to late 20s and choosing good things. Yeah.
Yes.
Same. Yeah.
So really I looked through a lot of the hardest moments. I looked through a lot of Colin and I's pictures, and I kept a journal. I want to write a book about my story. I want to do it like a loose fiction based, based on a true story. But I also want to be able to like say what I need to say without the stress of a nonfiction book and people being like, well, that's not.
Yeah.
That's my story. It's how I need to get it out. It's what I felt with things. So I started writing. I started reading. I started exercising a little bit more and realizing that was really helpful for me and getting into just like a daily routine. And once I got into a routine, I kind of realized like, yeah, I can be sad while I'm doing all of these things, but I have to do them. Because if I don't do them, I don't feel human.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm a person who's trying. So as long as I'm trying, I can still feel everything I need to feel, but I have to do something for myself every single day. So whether it was taking a walk with my dog, or was going out in the sunshine for 15 minutes in the start of the day just to absorb some of that good energy you feel when you wake up and fresh air, or hanging out with a friend, reading a book, doing something that would help me physically, helped me mentally.
Yeah.
And it was just one day after another for 6 months of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think studies even show how they have effect on each other. Like if you go to the gym, you do better at business, like you're on this routine.
The endorphins in your brain, it is crazy.
Yeah. So what are things now that really are goals or things you want to do? Because like obviously, like I've never been in your situation, but a lot of times when people get healed from some kind of sickness, it's like, oh my gosh, I need to go.
It's like a revelation.
Every moment counts, which it does, but it's like that fire underneath you.
It does, but I also love being cozy in bed. So I'm kind of like, I need to go be like...
That moment still counts.
Like I need to go be successful and doing all of these things I want to accomplish, but also I want to snuggle my dogs. And I want to be lazy sometimes, sleep in a little bit.
Me this whole weekend. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of my goals. So with the jiu-jitsu, I've been training jiu-jitsu since January of 2023. I started it within a month of finishing chemo, and I had every intention of just suffering through it, but I actually really love it. I'm kind of obsessed, and I'm not going to say this in a braggy way, but I'm good at it because I put a lot of heart and soul into it. Yeah. I just had a tournament yesterday, and I brought home 2 golds for 2 divisions I was in. So that was pretty cool. I've been competing for about a year in it. with the goal of getting a purple belt, that's roughly a 5-year time frame for somebody who's really dedicated, who's really knowledgeable, who studies it in their time off when the coaches decide they're ready, but 5 years is average. So Colin's favorite question to ask me was, where do you want to be in 5 years? Because I don't want to be here in 5 years. He talking about me being sick. I was like, I don't want to be
I
here.
thought you meant Springfield. I'm like, same.
Also kind of same, but I love the gym too much to leave it now. So, but he was, where do you want to be in 5 years? Because, feeling crappy and sick all the time, I don't want to be there in 5 years. So I ask myself that every day now. Where do I want to be in 5 years? And it just so happens that my cancer watch is 5 years. So in this whole 50-50, am I going to get it or not? Is it going to come back? That scary moment of like, I have to deal with that every single day. But for 5 years, I'm going to work on my mental health because obviously there's been some trauma that I have to work through and kind of open up to myself before I can ever let anybody else in again. Financially, I got wrecked. I've had to move 4 or 5 times in the last 3 years, back and forth from Springfield to Joplin because of living situations and people that didn't follow through with their word, things like that. And I was in a vulnerable place. So I was trying to get back to Springfield, get back to my home. So financially, I'm going to set myself up. Mentally, I'm going to set myself up. Physically, trying to get in the best shape. That way I can earn that purple belt. I am trying to create a full wellness plan for myself for 5 years. That way in 5 years, I can say, I am exactly who I want to be for the rest of my life. And I can change as I need to. But I have a health plan for 5 years. To just be the best version of myself that I can be after everything, because it's a journey. It's a rough journey. And there are some really bad days in it, but I know that it's helping me every single day that I follow it.
Absolutely.
And if I happen to inspire somebody or help somebody or give somebody the advice they need along the way, then that is icing on the cake, and that is my life goal, to just be there for somebody because I needed somebody to help me. I want to do that for somebody else.
No, that's powerful. I have a few couple questions left as we're nearing the end. One, I want to know, like, what's the ratio of women to men at these, like, jiu-jitsu tournaments or just, like, in general?
So I'll say this. One of our guys yesterday had a 15-man bracket, and my most filled bracket was 4 women.
Wow.
So in our gym, there's 10 to 15 solid, consistent women, and then 50 or so men minimum that come in and out. So.
And how is it, like, very supportive, like, very wanting to grow? What's the vibe?
It is Springfield Fight Club. I have to shout them out. One of my absolute favorite places in the world because of the inclusivity of it. You have somebody from almost every walk of life.
Okay, downtown, what is this, F1? Oh my gosh. I'm like, sorry, it's been a minute, but oh my gosh, sorry.
So it's a really inclusive place, and we have everybody from all walks of life, and we've all kind of had our fair share of trauma, but we come together to create a team environment. We literally, I choke and strangle my friends out. I armbar them, I triangle them with my legs. Like, it's so fun, but they do the same thing to me, and I put my lives in their hand for this because I'm not just going to let some person walk off the street and try to do this to me. I don't have any trust in them. You build that trust with them. So Springfield Fight Club, if you're looking for a martial arts place, that is the place to go.
Boom. Boom. Awesome. How do you deal with the anxiety of, could my cancer come back every day?
I can't change it. I only focus on what I can control now, and what I can control is my state of mind.
Boom. Yeah. Okay. I'm digging what you're putting out, man. That's so good. And what advice or inspiration can you give to, maybe it's someone who's younger or older that's either dealing with cancer or losing a loved one in a traumatic way, or literally maybe just going through the motions of life and not truly, doing everything they can, living the best they can?
I have to embrace the chaos is one, because life is so unexpected that you will never be able to plan it fully. All of my plans went out the window, and now my life looks completely different, and I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm sad about things that have happened, but I have created a life for myself that I can be happy with again. I will be happy. I am happy. But embrace the chaos. Ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, that's good.
And try to be positive at any point that you can. You can always find a positive side. You can always find a positive side.
Yeah.
So just focus on that.
Yeah, that very hard to do. But I mean, like you said, one, for me, when you have life with Jesus, that's the only comfort that I find. Because other than that, I'm like, I don't know. And having that community of people around you that love you, genuinely have your back, is so important, and seek those things. Don't give up, and don't let the world and those thoughts of all those lies, whatever, control your mindset, you know, being rooted in knowing who you are, who you serve, why you serve it. You know, those are things that we stand on when we have those hard days. So we end the pod every way. Favorite song, favorite quote, and what do you want your legacy to be? You know, just like some 3 really simple like little questions. I'm just kidding. Like, everything's always deep here, you guys.
Favorite song right now is Happier by Marshmello, kind of an older one, but every time I listen to that, it's kind of bittersweet because the video is about a dog.
I want to be happier.
Yeah, okay, I love the vibe. I loved Marshmello at the time that it came out. Like, it was just man. Good
Thunder
song.
Ridge, get Marshmello. I'm just kidding.
Favorite quote, embrace the chaos. I live by this whole chaos tagline on my arm because my whole tagline is life after C, life after chaos, cancer, Colin, coping through everything. So embrace the chaos because what else is there to do?
That's good.
And then my legacy, I just want to help somebody. I want to be the person that if they look back at a certain moment in their life, they're like, if that person hadn't been there, I don't know if I would have made it. I want to be that hand to hold, that shoulder to cry on, that you need life advice, I got you. You need a ride to the airport, I got you. You have a life and death situation, I will listen and try to help you as much as I can. Yeah. I just want to be there for somebody.
Yeah. That's good. Using your pain for something positive. And that's what the whole podcast was, why I felt like God told me to do it. So that's the vibe. Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Where can people find you?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my story because, like I said, that's the whole reason I'm here.
Anytime, bro.
You can you can find me on Instagram, life.after.c. That's kind of my jiu-jitsu journey, but I post trying to make it bigger and get it out there. So if you guys want to give me a follow, I'm actually doing a jiu-jitsu cancer fundraiser.
Ooh.
So I'm using jiu-jitsu, which saved my life and brought me back to life, to fundraise for cancer, which almost took my life. So like, why not use my hobby to help people? Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So follow me. I'll be posting about that. I do tournaments and stuff, but also I just life advice. So follow me.
That's good. That's good. That's awesome. To my listeners, live, laugh, love you guys, per usual. Trying to make anything crazy coming up. Lots of events coming up in the fall. We have a lot of crazy fun things, so definitely be following. We have merch, all the merch, thrifted pieces too. Go to Rakish Vintage Markets once a month. Obsessed with them. You can use the code all caps cash, KASH. Trying to think of anything else. We're about to be in fall. It's like the busiest season ever.
Today is the first day of fall. So it is officially sweater weather.
Sweater weather, even though it's 90 degrees out.
Maybe at some point it'll be sweater weather.
But I think too, you know, whatever it is in your life, for me personally, what I feel like God's been putting in my heart is just to be still and having, like, if Springfield and this season of life is an amazing meal, to enjoy it and not focus on what's dessert, what's to come. So whatever that looks like for your life, be still, enjoy the moment, enjoy the people around it.
Enjoy the little things. Like, it really is about the little things.
It really is, man. It really is. So live, laugh, love you guys. Follow, subscribe, catch a vibe. Remember to always keep on keeping up with cash. Okay, bye.
Thank you.